here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we love a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the American rock guitarist and writer. It's the one and only Roger Fisher, who I spoke to very recently to find out more about life, love and poetry and all that other groovy stuff. Was in the rock band Heart from the early 70s right through to 79, featuring on albums like Dreamboat Annie, that included the song Crazy on You, going right through to Dog and Butterfly. He's still involved in the creative process and has got a new organisation that I'll put a link in the notes below, soulgardenmusicfoundation.org. But yes, I've included that below. But this is the interview, just to say we did it in two parts, separate Fridays. So there's a little bit of a change of bits and pieces, quality probably, and there's occasional moments where it freezes, but we get through it, and it's a fascinating interview, so sit back, relax, enjoy. And as always, we start at the beginning, the creative process. Roger, tell us all about those early formative years.
The very first really big eye-opening, ear-opening one was, I would guess that I was probably 7 years old, and we went to our cousin's house for a visit. And my brother and sister and mom and dad all went into the other room, and I noticed that there was this little 45 RPM record player sitting on the floor. So I went and looked at that, and there was this disc on there, and on the label there was a Capitol building. And so I plunked the needle on, and I heard this song that went, "Darling, you send me, I know you send me, I know. Oh, you send me." And name that artist. I'm forgetting his name right now, but just such a sweet voice. And I was blown away. I was just goosebumps from head to toe, and played it over and over and over and over. So that was a moment.
Yeah.
Before that, when we were really little, Dad would wake us up in the morning, and we would come out into the kitchen and sit in front of the furnace there. There was a standalone furnace in the kitchen, and we would sit in front of that thing and keep warm. And they would have the radio going, and they always had music playing. That was really a great thing about them. I mean, most young people do keep music going, you know.
Yes.
But I remember, like, I'm 75 years old, so many of your listeners won't know these songs, but Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, make his complexion like peaches and cream. Oh my God. And all these songs from that era. But so by them having the radio on all the time, it instilled a love of music for me. But what really opened up the universe's doors was the Beatles' performance on Ed Sullivan in 1964.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
oh my gosh. That changed the world. It literally changed the world, that moment, because so many people fell in love with them, and then they went on to be major influences in our cultural evolution, and it gave us a personal direction in life. You know, when you're young, you're kind of always looking for, you know, what's real, what's the truth, what does this religion mean, what does that religion mean, you know, what am I going to do for work, and all this direction hunting kind of stuff that goes on in the children's or young people's minds.
Yes.
And they were such good directors of those questions, those very personal questions. Yeah, it was just wonderful to have leaders like that in our world.
Well, quite. And did you have any older brothers or sisters who gave you any musical or cultural sort of direction when you were growing up?
Yeah, my brother was 2 years older and my sister was 4 years older, but it was my brother that really helped give direction. And well, for instance, when I started playing guitar, he told me about this guy that was supposed to be a good guitar player. His name was Eric Clapton, and I should listen to him.
Right.
Yeah, so I listened to him, and oh man. So let's see, what was that? John Mayall and the Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton, and there was one song called "Have You Heard" that's got this guitar solo that just makes time stand still. Yeah, I just fell in love with Eric, and
Yes.
so one of the things that you can play a lot of those nice melodic notes fairly easily, but he did this thing where he would bend a note and then put vibrato on it. And man, I struggled with that for a long time before I was able to do it. Uh, but yeah, so that was a biggie. And then of course when Led Zeppelin, no, before that, excuse me. Oh, the Yardbirds. Oh, I love the Yardbirds.
Yes. And your brother was a little bit older by a couple of years, but he would have been almost the same age as people like David Bowie and Lemmy. When they were ever asked about, their main influence, they'd always say people like Little Richard and Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly, Eddie Cochran. Were they those artists? Did they filter into your consciousness when you were
Yeah, they
growing
sure
up?
did. Yeah. Let's see, what year would that have been? Maybe 1956 or something when All Shook Up by Elvis Presley came out.
Yes,
Oh man, we thought that was great.
I would
Yeah.
imagine. And then
Yeah.
obviously there was the Beat generation that started to filter through, and people started getting into, poetry by Ginsberg and people reading Jack Kerouac's On the Road. It was one of those things, wasn't it? The '60s embraced that with people like Ken Kesey and was it Tom Wolfe and the Electric
Yeah.
Kool-Aid Acid Test. Were those things? Because obviously you mentioned the Beatles in '64. That was the beginning, I suppose, of youth culture that started to really develop, all the teenage period, wasn't it? Did that also sort of filter into your interest in sort of arts and movement?
Yeah, it really did. I mean, let's see. Yeah, Buddy Holly, we loved him too. Uh, but when the Beatles came out, that was right around the same time that LSD came on the scene.
Yes,
And that was a real eye opener too.
I would
To
imagine.
and I was just thinking this morning that something I was thinking that I'm going to be speaking to a young lady. I think she's 18, and she she just wants input, general input. And I was thinking of how would I explain LSD to her, and I thought that I would say, well, taking LSD is kind of like going to sleep. Because when you go to sleep, anything can happen. Anything
Yes.
can happen. And the same with LSD. You laugh, you cry, you get really afraid. All these things can happen. But so that also helped the whole Beatles direction in uh what back then it wasn't generally more a party thing. It was more an exploration thing where you're looking for spirituality, you're looking for direction. And
Yes.
the general populace of the people that we knew, all our hippie friends, uh, we all like there was this a catalog called the Whole Earth Catalog.
Oh God, yes. I've got a copy of it somewhere around here.
Yeah. And
Mm.
that was a really good guide to how to live uh, eco-friendly, inexpensively, uh, in harmony with nature and everything. And we loved that. And there were geodesic domes were kind of a little bit popular. Well, my
Yes.
brother and I thought that this generation is going to be the catalyst that brings all that wonderful stuff into being, into the mainstream. And the Beatles were right in there uh, carrying the flag for that direction. And we honestly believed that the world was really going to change for the better. You know, all you need is love and people rising and becoming part of the movement. And the fact that that never happened was tragic.
Yes. Well, you gave it a
Yeah,
go. I mean, yes, because there was that guy you mentioned, geodesic domes. There was Buckminster Fuller, wasn't there? He developed
exactly.
it, and the whole Earth was Stuart Brand as well. So there was
Oh,
some
okay.
interesting sort of movers and shakers along there. And I guess there was Keysy with the Merry Pranksters, wasn't there? And the Trips Festival, and I don't know, Hunter S. Thompson writing about it. And like I said, there was the electric Kool-Aid acid test, which
Oh, and a
obviously,
really important one was Alan Watts.
yes. Alan
Yeah,
Watts, yes. Yeah, it was
yeah,
quite so you would have been the perfect age, basically 17, when The Summer of Love appeared in 67.
yeah.
So what was your Summer of Love like? This is
Well,
the
so uh, we went to the first. Oh, okay. So we went to the first like outdoor rock festival ever. It was called the Sky River Rock Festival, and it was just not far from here, like about 5 miles from where we are now. And it was on somebody's farm. Excuse me, somebody's farm out in the Dingles. And well, let's see. I think the Grateful Dead were there.
right.
Santana was there, uh, and
Well,
some other
I
very
think
no.
you had Country Joe and the Fish as well, didn't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
bizarrely, if this was 60, so this was 68, you went to the Sky River
yeah.
Rock Festival. Yeah. Well, bizarrely, it's got Richard Pryor, which is amazing. I'm sure you can't remember that one. But
No,
you had everybody like the Young Bloods, Pink Floyd, bizarrely. Yes, well, I say bizarrely. I mean, I didn't realize they had got over to the USA that quickly, but that was no, it was 68. I should do the maths. Oh, Flaming Groovies were there as well. And also you
mm,
had the San Francisco Mime Troupe Company. So it would have been some interesting avant-garde performance artists as well. Probably naked, taking drugs. It was at the time, wasn't it? Let's face it.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was amazing. The standout to me was Santana.
Well, I would
How
imagine.
they would play and play and play just musically, just jamming. And then all of a sudden, boom, they would go to a different part altogether and boom, going, it was like a school of fish the way they played together. They probably had little signals, for
Yes.
things, but man, so good.
And by then, had you dabbled in a bit of smoking, a bit of LSD at that
Oh
stage?
no, I've never taken any drugs.
Oh, no, no, no. Well, no,
No,
I'm
I'm
not.
joking. I'm joking. No, I was yeah, so back then it was just LSD and cannabis.
Right.
Yeah, and speed, I didn't like speed. It was just nervous energy.
Yes.
But cannabis was so much fun. And when you're high on weed, music is wonderful.
Yes, quite. So when did you get your first guitar? Did you mentioned when you were young you were listening to that track that had a big impact. What was your sort of musical moment where a guitar appears in your life?
Uh this is a good story. So
Oh, I think you're just about to freeze a
I-
little bit
I'm
there.
writing an autobiography.
Oh, good.
Uh, are we good now? Are we
Yes,
okay?
yes, we are. You were
Oh,
just a little bit. You were probably going from one Wi-Fi to another, but I think we've just gone outside,
okay.
haven't we?
Yeah, I have to give my employee a little bit of input here. But
Yes.
so it's a pretty good story. Uh, I don't know what made me do this, but uh, I joined up with a little band of people.
Oh, I think you might freeze as you wander
It
outside.
was like I wanted to belong to, wanted to have some wild, crazy fun. So it was about like 4 or 5 guys, and we would go around the Seattle area and break into houses. And well, of course, we got caught. And so there I am standing in front of this judge, uh, just feeling humiliated. One more of these right there. And he's, what, what, what kind of things did you take out of these houses? And I said, well, the only thing I ever took was an 8 ball off a cue ball, or no, an 8 ball off a pool table. And he said, well, you're obviously just hanging around with the wrong people. You can go. So then on the way home, mom says, what are we going to do with you to occupy your time so you're not doing stupid stuff like this? And I said, can you rent me a guitar and amplifier? that was the start of my guitar playing.
Right. My God, that's amazing. How old were you at that point? Did you say when you'd sort of had your life of crime in
15.
15? So that was 1965. So then by
And
then you'd sort of cleared up your act a bit.
yeah. And well, see, that was right around the same time that I had bought a 1950 Ford car from my dad. And the first thing I did was I took the engine completely apart and cleaned every piece of the engine. And so I had all these engine parts in my bedroom, and I had gasoline in a coffee can with a toothbrush, and I
Yeah.
slept in that bedroom. And this is leaded gas. So I was sleeping in a bedroom, inhaling leaded gas for weeks.
Yeah.
And so I think I got some fairly decent brain damage from that. And that's my excuse for doing these stupid kind of things that
Yes.
seemed to happen when I was younger.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. Now, I was going somewhere with that.
Well,
What did you
yes.
just
Well,
ask?
dude, when you got your first guitar, I was just kind of curious when that kind of happened.
Yeah. So that was a late start for a person starting on guitar. There's so many stories of guys starting when they're 4 or 5, 6 or 7 or 8, and those people that start what their life's ambition is going to be at that really young age, they usually become champions. They usually become really good at that. uh, but one thing I do have in common with people like Brian May and Jeff Beck and probably countless others is that when I started playing guitar, I started designing a guitar, and it had this kind of gourd like chamber to help keep the sound confined to the guitar. So it's an electric guitar with kind of a gourd on top of it, if you can picture that. And the idea was that it would have better sustain and it would just have a cool, different sound. But I never finished it. But what did happen is that that's when my ultimate guitar design started. And so over the years, I made prototypes of a bunch of the different aspects of guitar that I wanted to see. And I'm still working on that. And in my shop or in my studio that I'm building, I've got a room for a shop where I'll be implementing some of these design acts I've put it up over the years. And the the eventual goal is to have a guitar that you can sit down in a room with, and it'll have a built-in amp and effects, and it will sound. There'll be stereo coming off the guitar, and it will sound as clean or as dirty as you want, and it'll have echo and reverb and flanging and compression, everything that you want. And plus other things that I can't say right now. But you'll sit down and play that guitar, and you'll say, "Oh my God, I must own this guitar." It'll be the ultimate guitar.
Yes, absolutely. So then, what were your first few songs that you started to sort of play when you got this guitar? And what sort of direction were you going? And sort of really, when did you form your first band? This was called Army, wasn't it?
Yeah, the first band was called the Deserters
Oh, yeah.
because I wanted to uh, make the statement that we are deserting the idea of barbarism, military society. Just forget about that and go in this new direction of harmony and the whole earth and people acting together compassionately and intelligently, you know. And so that was why the Deserters. But uh, after a while, can you hang on half a second?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. I'll just stop. I'm hanging
Let
on.
me see that. I don't know what to do next. I'll look around and then I'll tell you. Okay, so uh, let's see.
So did you? So when you were okay, just briefly then, as we got towards the end of the '60s, obviously we have the honeymoon period of '67, perhaps '68, and then Brian Jones dies. As the '70s starts to sort of come, '60s come to an end. We have the death of Morrison, Hendrix, Joplin. There's the Charles Manson. Some of the kind of slightly negative energy vibe starts to
Slightly,
kick in.
yeah.
How did you were only 19, 20 at this stage. Did you feel like this sort of decade ended on a bit of a downer? Oh,
Had it us and
oh, wait a minute. I've just lost you, and you're slightly frozen. So
to come to grips with the reality. Did I lose you?
wait a minute. Oh, once you're back in the house, we're probably on the home straight.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, you'll have to have external Wi-Fi on this one on your house. But anyway,
Right. Okay. Fine. Alex, you could break these down and put them in the recycling.
yes.
Okay, now I am back. I am in the house. We should have a good
Nice
connection.
multitask, isn't it? Really, it's nice to see your gardening coming on quite well. Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
so I just wondered, had you left school? Had you left school at
okay.
that age?
Pardon me?
Had you left school at the 16, 17 age, or were you still at college?
Oh, no. At 18, I was done with school. I hated school. I didn't want to do any more school. And by that time, right. Yeah. Yeah. So our band, so I had a band called the Deserters. And uh, I realized that was probably not going to be a very popular uh, name for a band. So I thought, okay, we'll be the Army, but we'll be a different kind of army. We'll be an army that supports a peaceful, loving direction, an army, a movement of people that are doing that. And
Yes.
then, yeah, so then from the Army, and we were really good. My brother was our manager, and uh, it was just four guys and kind of trying to be like the Beatles a little bit. And we copied, the current top 40 pretty well. Uh, and then we heard of a band called Steppenwolf. And we thought, wow, that's a cool name. And they got their name from a book, I think by Herman Hesse.
That's it.
And yeah, and so then I started looking around at book names, and there was one called White Tales from the White Heart. And wow, White Heart, that's kind of cool. Okay, we'll be White Heart. So then we were White Heart. And after a while, I thought, White Heart kind of symbolizes a pure heart. We can't be White Heart. So we dropped the white part and then we were just Heart. And Hart went through several different permutations, years of different permutations of members before it was time to find new members. And we put an ad in the paper. Uh, and the first person that answered was Ann Wilson. So we got together and auditioned. She and her drummer and her male lead singer buddy. And it was just magic. Me and Steve Fossen, Hart's bass player, my best friend at the time, played with them, and it was magical, absolutely magical. Sparks flying around in the room. There was something there, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was great.
And what were you, and was this kind of like 72, 73? The band, you were sort of forming the band at that stage? Did it take a few
Yeah.
to sort of gel? And were you doing cover numbers at this point? Or were you starting to write material?
Oh, we were just doing covers at first. Uh, you know, when I was in that bedroom breathing all those leaded gas fumes for those
Yeah.
weeks, it really did something to my memory. So my memory's always been pretty whacked. So I come off as ignorant, but I am ignorant, but ignorant with a poor memory as well. So it's it's
Wow.
very, very challenging. Uh, but yeah, let's see. Oh, we did some salmon, Dave. There's a big variety of stuff we did at the time. It was, kind of the popular music at the time, plus music that works in nightclubs, dance music. We did some Stones, uh, but then there was about 9 months, I think, that went by, and that band broke up. And then
Right.
Anne moved up to Vancouver, BC, to be with my brother because they had met and fallen in love instantly. And there's a documentary coming out very soon called, I think it's called In My Voice, and it's a documentary on Ann Wilson.
Right.
Yeah, and they'll probably cover some of this history in that documentary, but I think that a lot of your listeners would probably really enjoy that.
Well, I would imagine, absolutely. So there was obviously you were the pre sort of Fleetwood Mac band really at that stage, weren't you? With relationships within the band.
Yeah, so Ann's sister Nancy and I had fallen in love as well. So the chemistry of that lineup of musicians was really great because, my brother and I are like kind of innovative guys and a lot of creativity, uh, and then with those two sisters, it was a pretty powerful combination. And then we ended up with some really talented musicians in, Steve Fossen, my friend, and Howard Leese was the best friend of the producer,
Yes.
who he and Mike Flicker had moved up from California to live in Vancouver because they didn't like what was going on in the United States with all the Vietnam stuff. And so then Howard joined the band, and we also had this drummer who was very James Bonham like, uh, John Bonham like,
Yes.
and Mike DeRosa. And so it was a real solid lineup, and we really felt like we had something. So we did cover material with them for a while. Yes, Led Zeppelin, and then some of the more current popular stuff. But that's also when we started writing. And uh, what an amazing experience it is to, I think, probably in any craft where people get together as a team and work together. What a great experience that is to have your heart and sights set on a goal that seems almost impossible to achieve, yet you believe that you are going to achieve it together, and
Yeah.
then you do. That was a really, really wonderful experience to have lived.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the debut album, which, as debut albums go, this is pretty perfect. Did you have an idea of it sort of having this kind of a beginning and a sort of a middle and an end, and the way it sort of you go through this journey as a listener from side one to, the last track with the whole sort of Dreamboat Annie repraise? I mean, it's one of those albums that you definitely need to listen from the beginning to the end and not just skip tracks. Was that, did the track listing take a lot of time to put together, or did it come quite easily? And did the
You know,
song, you know,
I'm glad you said that because a lot of the well, I'm assuming that a lot of the listeners to this podcast are young and that they don't generally listen from to an album from beginning to end. But back in those days, that's what you did. We would get together. We would go downtown and pick up the latest Beatles album, and we would all get together in one of somebody's living room, and everybody had as good a stereo as you could afford at the time, and we'd sit down, we'd have some munchies and maybe some coffee or tea or something. We'd sit down, and it was a big deal. We would listen to the whole album, and groups like especially Pink Floyd and the Beatles, they were a single, cohesive, contiguous whole that needed to be absorbed in one sitting. They were designed for that environment. And today is more just one song at a time with a music video is what
mm,
works. So to talk about Dreamboat Annie, Heart's first release, as something to sit down and listen to from beginning to end is absolutely correct. And, you can try to design that stuff and you can have a concept that is meant to work that way. Dreamboat Annie was more a collection of songs that luckily fell together uh, in a way that worked in that particular order.
yes. I mean, lyrically, again, I love lyrics because I mean, one of my favorite first bands when I was very young was people like the Carpenters and Burt Bacharach, and I just love that kind of romanticism, and romantic melancholy is probably my go-to emotional state. And then listening to, as I mentioned, to people like David Bowie and then Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. I love sentimental but heartfelt songs. But when when Crazy on You was written and you looked at those lyrics and heard them sing them. I mean, you're all quite young. This is your first album. Did that sort of blow your mind? I mean, lines like "I was a widow last night in a dream."
Oh, that is just one of the best lines in rock and roll. That
Yeah.
that is a great, great line. I love lyrics too. The power of the word is very powerful. And when we were writing those, I didn't appreciate the lyrics as much as I did years later, and went back and thought, my God, that is genius. Uh, but no, Ann and Nance are very, very smart and well read. They were taken to plays a lot when they were young, so they've had really good input from great artists. So there was a pretty high bar held for them by themselves to produce something decent, that was relevant to what's going on in the world right now and always true to real life experiences. So that's why the music is held up so well, because it has great integrity still to this day.
Yes, I mean, and also the construction of the song, which is kind of genius, really. Let's face it. I mean, the guitar, the acoustic guitar, the way the electric guitar comes in, and the power. I mean, how did that song get created? Was it over a period of time? Did
Oh,
you?
no, it was really quick. So I remember so clearly Ann and Nance and my brother and I were living in an A-frame house uh, just over the border from Canada. And uh, one day they were writing a song, and Nance was using a Moody Blues song I think it was the one that goes, "Why do we never get an answer?"
Oh, yes.
What's the name of that song?
I think that's probably, oh God, I'll look. I'll just Google this is quality chat.
Anyway, so that song had I guess that's Justin Hayward playing guitar.
Question. I think that's called Question
Yeah, I think so.
from
Well,
1970.
I think that was the song that she was using as an inspirational tool to write this song with. So she had this dun, 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 thing going, and they said, "Hey, Raj, listen to this," and she plays that rhythm part. What what would you play as an electric guitar part against that? So I didn't say anything. I just listened in my head, and I heard da 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 da, And then in my lessons that I don't give many guitar lessons, but when I do, I talk about the telepathy involved in music making, because all of existence is just vibrations. It's different frequencies of vibrations. And the feeling that you have in your body and the thoughts that you have in your mind are vibrations that get transmitted through guitar strings or piano keys, uh, through an amplifier and speakers, and they get recorded. And those frequencies, all that data is there. Your vibes, what you were feeling when you played that song, those vibrations, those vibes are in the recording. So to be aware of that and deliberately infuse what is being recorded with power or uh, sadness or whatever the situation calls for gives you really something that the listener is going to pick up on that, and you might be really popular because they feel what you're playing. And if you don't know that, and it's just accidental that you're putting a lot of emotion into your playing or singing or whatever, fine. But when you know it, it makes a difference. So when my electric guitar part comes in there, da 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 da, there's something there. You feel that. You feel the power. And then Nancy, well, both Nancy and Ann, but like Nancy with that guitar part, she has something to prove. Where are all the women in music, in rock and roll? Where are they? Well, there's not when we came out, there weren't many. And so she's making a statement. She's making a statement for all womanhood.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's such, I don't know, ballsy seemed to be a bit of a cheap word, but yes, it is the classic, and lyrically, it kind of the whole thing meshed together. It is kind of musical perfection on that number, isn't it? Really, and
It really is. Yeah.
that's all you can say, really. But the whole album has a lovely vibe, doesn't it? The energy of it is very light. It's kind of very optimistic. It's also for me one of my, as a seasonal album, because a lot of records are quite seasonal. This is always, whenever I play it, I think of summer evenings and long, beautiful moons and stars, and it's just got that, because there's lovely songs like White Lightning and Wine, I'll Be Your
Mm.
Song, Sing Child, How Deep It Goes. It's just, there's a lot of optimism in this album, and it's all beautifully packaged with a great cover. So you must be so pleased with it.
Yeah. And it was a real interesting story because we had finished the album, it was released, and we all just absolutely believed it was going to take off and be big. Gets out there, nothing. Nothing's happening. And another week goes by, nothing. Another week goes by, nothing. We're all going, holy shit, what's going on? And we were feeling like is this gonna not do anything? And we were sad and afraid. It was an awful feeling. And our next gig was in Calgary, Alberta, and it was at a place called Lucifer's. And Lucifer's was probably the biggest nightclub in town and catered to wealthy uh, Canadians, kind of older Canadians. And so we get there, and our our crowd that we would draw are like hippies, and hippies don't drink like wealthy elderly people, not elderly but older people.
Yeah.
And so the club owner wasn't enamored with that aspect of us. Plus, we were loud. We were too loud for his nightclub. And they kept telling us to turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. Meanwhile, their food tasted like pine sol. It tasted like some cleaning detergent or something because the dishes hadn't been adequately washed. And we just hated it. Not only was our career not happening, we're playing in this nightclub that we just hate. And so I remember one night I bought a bottle of Grand Marnier and took it back in the dressing room and spread it out over the floor and lit it. And so then we're all kind of standing around looking at this fire going on in the dressing room floor. And so when it went out, it was this sticky black mess. I thought, wow, I have to clean this up. We can't be walking this stuff around. So I took a towel and cleaned it up, and with the cleanup grungy stuff, wrote on the wall, "This place sucks." And well, not surprisingly, we got fired. And so my brother and Ann had gone up and to talk to the owner, and I say, "Yeah, I got to let you guys go." So Mike and Ann get back to their hotel room, and Ann is crying. She said, "I've never been fired before." And Mike is saying, "Ann, just don't worry about it. Something good will come from this." And right after he said that, the phone rang, and it was our booking agent saying, or no, it was the record company saying, "Hey, is there any way you can get out of that gig? You have an opportunity to open for Rod Stewart in Montreal and Toronto." And we said, "Yeah, we just got out of the gig. We'll take that gig opening for them." So that was huge. Those we had never played concerts that big before. So we took a 4-day train ride across Canada, where meanwhile in Toronto and Montreal, we had been on heavy rotation. And we didn't really know that. But we stepped out on stage, nervous as hell, and the crowd went nuts as soon as we stepped on stage, because in their eyes, we're these radio stars because they'd just been hearing us nonstop. And so we go, "Wow, this is amazing." And from then, it was just this long, upward soaring journey. And the album became I think, one of the all-time fastest-selling debut albums from any group outside the United States
Yeah.
at that time. Yeah, so it was a
Did
real
you come over to the UK at that stage to promote the album?
right in the end of 1975. We had been playing at a nightclub in Vancouver, BC called Oil Can Harry's, and Nazareth had been in town playing a gig. And after their gig, they came down to that nightclub and they saw us play, and they stayed around and talked to us afterward. And they just loved our band. And in fact, they offered me a job. They wanted me to join their band. And I thought to myself, we're going to be bigger than you guys. I don't want to join your band. And but they did offer to let us back them up in a European tour. So we took them up on that at the end of 1975. And I remember driving by in our limo in, was it London? I think it was London. And it was what's the guy's name that had the big record company? Uh,
Well,
one of the
there's Island Records and there's Richard Branson and
yeah,
Virgin.
yeah, Virgin. Yeah, we went by a Virgin Records record store, and we saw our big poster up in the window, and that was really thrilling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
And
imagine, and we also had various DJs like Whispering Bob Harris and the Old Grey Whistle Test. I would imagine a band like you would have been just ideal for that kind
we
of.
played on the Old Grey Whistle Test, and Brian May was the host.
Ah,
Yeah, and uh, so that was fantastic. And so then, anytime Queen came to Seattle after I'd gotten to know Brian a little bit, they would always come and visit us. And
that's
yeah, one time we were both in St. Louis and played back to back nights. And I remember after their show, both bands went to this nightclub afterward. And imagine you're in this nightclub and Heart and Queen come in there and sit down.
yeah. You
Yeah.
must look like the beautiful people, actually. I would imagine that 75, 76. Actually, it was 76. So as you were promoting this album, were you also realizing that the second album people were going to start asking you about the next album? Were you starting to write new material for the following
Yeah.
stage?
Yeah, we were. And the writing of Barracuda is such a great story because we were somewhere in the Midwest. Uh, it could have been Detroit, I'm not sure. But what the way it would work would be on the road, it's difficult to find time to practice, and so me and Mike Drozier, the drummer, we felt like our musicianship is sliding a little bit because we don't get enough time to play because you're always in the bus or a plane or whatever. And so we would go down to sound checks and we would just jam out for as long as we could before they'd tell us to stop because they had to shoot the room and all that. But this one day we're jamming away on some stuff and my brother comes running up to the stage and he says, "What's that?" And I don't know, it's just nothing. And he said, "Work on that. Make that into a song." And so we did. We came up with a few different parts to it, and then he recorded it on cassette. And then a couple days later, we were in like Chicago or something, and the record company would they had uh, these guys that would take care of the band take
Right.
care of the band. They would if you needed whores or drugs or whatever, they would take care of the band. And they were usually well acquainted with the underground and very likely part of the underground. Well, this guy was a very part of the underground and said really distasteful things to Ann and Nance. Anne was furious. She went up to her room and she was just so pissed off. And my brother handed her the cassette and he said, "Here, use your pissed offness and write something to this." And so she wrote Barracuda.
Right. My God. Well, yes, that would have been quite unpleasant, really, at that stage. But before that, that was Little Queen. You'd also released Magazine, hadn't you? That was the next album.
Yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah. There's
was
a
that a difficult album to, I don't know, construct or develop after
well,
the debut?
we had a really nice concept for that album, but that was around the same time that we were finding things out about our record company, Mushroom Records, that we couldn't tolerate, and so we had to leave the record company, and in doing so, a lawsuit happened between us and them, and it got really ugly. We spent $1 million in lawyers' fees to right that wrongful situation.
Right.
And so magazine ended up not being what we wanted it to, but it became a conglomeration of some live shows that we had done and the new songs that we had written. It was still a good album, but just miles away from what we had hoped or intended. So we finished that off really quickly to satisfy our previous contract with Mushroom Records. And then we started on Little Queen, which we had to try and finish quickly too, because we just did. I mean, the memory is it faded as to why we had to do that, but we were under the gun to finish it quickly too. I think we wanted to compete with magazine.
Well, I suppose also most bands realize, you don't realize at the time, but the public and the industry, it's a dirty word, really, isn't it? Is quite fickle, and scenes change so quickly, don't they? You know, in that time between 75 and 77, there was prog rock, there was the sensitive singer-songwriter, and then suddenly punk rock appears, and this new wave of young kids are appearing who are very different to the old guard. You know, if you listen to
David, I would really like to continue this conversation, and there's a whole second half that is pretty noteworthy and pretty exciting. Could we resume another time?
And that, dear listener, is going to be at the end of part 1, which is fascinating. And this is going to be part 2, so a week apart. So this is where we began chatting about being on a different record label to record Little Queen after departing from Mushroom Records and the album Magazine. Anyway, Roger's going to explain all about the next phase of his musical journey.
So in the middle of our lawsuit, we had some obligations to our previous contract. We needed to finish the magazine album to our standard of acceptance and deliver that to them. So we did that, but then we wanted to get the Little Queen album out as quickly as possible. So we were really under the gun, just working really hard to finish that album quickly, because then they were obviously going to release magazine, and it wasn't really up to our standard. It wasn't the album that we had originally conceived to put out. So because it was less than what we really wanted, we wanted to compete with it with Little Queen. So man, there were some late nights there, but we knew, for instance, when we were recording Barracuda, we knew that was just such a great song that it would probably do really well. So man, we went over and over and over and over, recording it over and over, because there was something we were looking for. If it wasn't one thing, it was another. But after a while, the momentum of that song had just built up like a big freight train. And each time we would play it, we weren't about to let it get hackneyed or worn out. Each time we played it, it got more intense and more intense. So finally, when you hear the finished product, it's smooth, and it's like there's no struggle there.
Yes.
It's just rolling down the tracks.
Well, it's interesting with that song, because I went to one of those, I don't know if you'd come across him. He's got big hands. Tony Robbins, a Tony Robbins weekend. One of these kind of he doesn't call himself a motivational speaker, but in a way he is kind of one of those motivational people. 5-day weekend, lots of clapping, lots of get the life, empower yourself stuff. And he has a story that about that particular song, how that kind of motivated him. So because he uses music a lot. Have you ever come across Tony Robbins and his story about Barracuda when I think.
Yeah, I have a recording of that I got decades ago, and it's really inspiring. I mean, when I first when I first heard that, I just thought right on, because that's what that music should do. When you hear Barracuda, I'm playing it just as hard as I can with as much energy as I can. And so uh, I don't know if you or your listeners are aware or are privy to the idea that uh, everything is vibrations. And when you know that and deliberately infuse your recording performance with something, it comes through. Like, well, like the emotional delivery of a lead singer, if there was no emotion there, it would be one thing. But when they're really emotionally involved, you feel that. And it's the same with guitar playing. Man, I felt ferocious when I recorded that part. And I think that comes through. We have a football team in Seattle called the Seattle Seahawks, and they play in a big stadium here in town. And every game they use my guitar part from Barracuda to rile up the audience.
Right, nice. Well, it's a good one. It's a good one to do. Yes, I'm glad you've heard that story. I wasn't sure if it was one of those very obvious points or not. Actually, during my being from the UK, and I went through quite a hippie new age time in the sort of, especially the 80s and 90s. So the world of ley lines and vibrations and energy and all that world is quite familiar to a lot of people in the UK, because we love our stone circles and our magical
Yeah,
moments of life. And as you can imagine, with Stonehenge and Avebury and the Glastonbury tour and all this kind of stuff, it's and if you ever go to Scotland, there's so many stone circles, and it's all very beautiful and cosmic the way it sort of runs. And yes, energy is such an important part of our life, really. You can get that from being with people, can't you, sometimes, or a lot of the time.
absolutely.
So that's
Yeah.
good. But the other thing, in my younger days, I loved people like Jethro Tull and Led Zeppelin, because there's a song on that album called "Dream of the Archer," which is absolutely gorgeous piece, isn't it? And that's one you co-wrote that one as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Can you remember how that one sort of came about? Because
Yeah.
it's got a lovely vibe to it.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What is Zeppelin's song that's similar to
Well, I suppose there's
Bad with
elements.
Nevermore?
Yes,
Yeah.
that on Led Zeppelin 4, there's that element of.
Yeah. So we loved Led Zeppelin so much, and uh, we allowed ourselves to let the influence come across, and I don't think we overdid it. I wouldn't say that we were lifting stuff from them. We were just using the common influences of uh, ancient uh, sorts of like magical, mythical
Yes.
feels in the music. But so Dream of the Archer is preceded by Sylvan Song, which is a mandolin duet that Nancy and I do. And Sylvan Song uh, it was me out in a big grass field in Great Falls, Montana, writing something on mandolin, which Nancy and I were both learning at the same time, to win her heart. And so I really put a lot of emotion and uh, will into it that is willing Nancy to become my girlfriend. And so we did that, and she liked it, and she did become my girlfriend. But then that segued into Dream of the Archer really nicely. And then so Dream of the Archer is this Midsummer Night's Dream kind of play out in the woods where there's the struggle of good and evil and temptation and everything. Yeah, we really did create some places with our music. And when you do that, it allows the audience to go to that place, and they can fill up the space with their own imagination of what the music imparts. And that's the beauty of that song, like a song like Mistral Wind, where you just take the audience away. And, it's really nice for the audience to be taken away, because it's, we don't always, we're not always so comfortable in this place where we are. And like, oh, geez, the streets of Minneapolis, and, things go on everywhere that are hard to take. And,
Yes.
and
It's
then
very-
there are, it's essential that we escape from that. And there's so many ways of escaping, escaping with drugs and alcohol and uh, that sort of thing is one thing. But if you can escape by just putting on some music and go to this other place that's magical and it's so uplifting.
Yes, well, absolutely. I think that's why so many records are so important. And also, actually, what I find with records, they're quite seasonal. Because I know when I listen to Jethro Tull, it's often the beginning of autumn and winter. And then certain albums by Joni Mitchell have a summer vibe, and some have a winter vibe. And this album feels quite spring-like, summer, spring, midsummer it kind of evokes that emotional quality a lot of the time of those evenings which are very light, and it just seems to be absolutely beautiful. There's a stillness at times which is enjoyable, and not to say the least, really, as you can imagine. So yes. And then on side two, you've got a couple of you've got Say Hello and Go On Cry as well. What was the kind of story behind those two songs?
Well, Say Hello is about say hello to all your secret light inside. You know, uh, a long time saying of my brother's was, see the light, be the light. And, well, I think that we're all, I mean, it's obvious that everything is light. It's all energy, and it's light. I've had the experience twice where I've left my body and shot off into space and saw something way off in the distance. It was a bright light, and it was a light brighter than all the stars in the universe put together. And the stars in the universe are a nuclear reaction. This light was pure living love. It was like the ultimate mother. And all I wanted to do was get back to that. And I knew that I would never be afraid to die again after having this experience. So I saw the light. And my gosh, it's just, uh, it's just the best.
Well, absolutely. That sounds incredible, actually. That does sound rather. Yes, you're one with everything. That is
Yes.
fantastic.
And so that's the place where everything comes from and where everything returns to. And it's a singularity in that there is no darkness, it's only light. I mean, uh, but so say hello to all your secret light inside, and turn up the fire. There's a place I know you won't be able to hide. Like eventually, when you really tune in, then you are just a being that is full of bliss, and you radiate that, and you infect other people with that. And it's a wonderful thing. So that's what Say Hello is about to me. And that's the only song I helped write the lyrics to
Right.
of all the songs I co-wrote. And then Go On Cry, that's about coming to grips with uh, the realization, a self-realization where you realize that you've maybe really been on the wrong track, or when you look back at your history and you say, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And how could I be so stupid? And you know, you absorb and embrace the truth. And sometimes when you do that, you just have to let it out. You just have to sob and say, God, I think I can do better. You know, that there's a few, obviously, many probably ways of interpreting the song, but that was one of the main ways uh, that I interpreted it.
Yes, my God. And then, I mean, that period of music is interesting. It's when you started to that period, obviously, there's always these kind of musical shifts. And I find that every few years there's another trend. And obviously, towards the late 70s ish, there was, when you started, there wasn't punk and there wasn't those kind of bands like the Ramones and Talking Heads and the Sex Pistols and the Clash. How was it for you as a musician in a band, sort of being aware that suddenly, even though you probably weren't that old at that time, there was even these younger kids making quite a different kind of soundtrack to their lives, and there was a different sort of audience of new wave of 16, 18-year-olds coming along. What was it like for you thinking, oh blimey, where do we fit into this? Or did that ever come into your consciousness at that stage?
Oh, absolutely. When I heard punk, I was just disgusted. I just thought it was so wrong. Like an old guy, you know, oh, what's this new music? No, I didn't. I knew that it had its appeal as far as being rebellious, honest, in your face, but I sure didn't like it. But I respected the fact that somebody had the balls to speak out like that and take a stand like that. And then so over the years, it became more and more important in the industry, and it really had its place, and it was the precursor to other statements that were equally honest and brutal, but maybe more refined, like grunge.
Yes, yes, that's a whole other one. So then, as the part of the end part of the decade, you had Dog and Butterfly. This isn't. What's your memory of going into that sort of session like? Was it still an optimistic period for the band, or had
Well,
things?
that's when I was being kind of incrementally worked out of the lineup. So it was an incredibly painful time for me. Nance and I had split up, and she was hanging out with the drummer Mike DeRozier, and I had to be around that every day on the road. It was really, really challenging. And then working in the studio, there was a kind of a dark cloud over the sessions where, yeah, the music was amazing. I wasn't invited to play on this song or this song, but yet I had co-written the best song on the album, Mistral Wind. And yeah, it was a very, very uncomfortable, difficult time.
Yeah, my God, because you being the sort of founder member of the band ish. How did you emotionally deal with that? Did you have, how did you as a person kind of keep that together?
I didn't keep it together very well. I was sad and mopey and felt sorry for myself. I was a disgusting excuse of a human being. So there you have it. That's the way I saw it, you know. And I remember having conversations with the drummer Mike DeRocher, who was absolutely one of my best friends, where he said, "Man, you just got to fight. You've got to fight. You can't let yourself be down like that." And that little speech was really important for me because when I was voted out of the band on Halloween 1979, and I heard about it from the manager, Ken Kinnear, I said, wow, thank you. Because it was a huge relief, and I was really glad to get out of the band. But after that, I was still depressed, and I just remembered those words, man, you got to fight. And so that really helped get me out of that funk.
Yes, my God. Well, that's so. How do you then navigate your 80s? What's your sort of next kind of sort of direction during this period? Because obviously you're still incredibly young at this point.
Oh,
But
okay, yeah. Well, back then, I had moved into a new house, and my brother and I built a really nice studio in there. We had a great machine, 2-inch, 16-track machine, and a really good console. And we just went to work. We wanted to explore directions that we hadn't heard in music before. So we've got a bunch of stuff recorded from back then. That is really, really trippy. And I've got so much music in the can that I really hope will catch on someday because
yes,
there's just so much good stuff there. But
is that a project that you're going to be working on now in the next few
yeah,
years,
well,
getting your archives done?
yeah, absolutely. Because now the technology has evolved to the point where we can go back and look at that stuff that was recorded purely analog, captured just brilliantly, just beautiful sounds, and fix some things about it and add to it, maybe take some things away, but refine it to the point where uh, me and my partner Derek Whitaker, we're partners in his studio and my studio, and a new foundation that we've created. When we can sit down and look at the stuff that we recorded back then, that was the 1980s,
Yes.
and go in there and tweak it and then have it ready for release, then I'm just hoping that something will happen in my career where uh, I get a little bit of notoriety so that more people will go, hey, let's listen to what Roger did 40 years ago or whatever it was.
Well, yes, 45, I guess. Yeah, it's quite weird, isn't it? Then but in the 90s, though, is this when you form your first kind of band after your sort of 80s period and Heart?
Well, no, I had bands in the 80s, the Roger Fisher Band. We went out and we did some touring. And yeah, it's just so great to team up with really good musicians and go out and play. But
But then
in
I was going to
in
say,
that,
in 1990, is this when you form Alias with a bit of a solid rock band?
Alias, Alias. That was a corporate put together thing,
Right.
and they tried to give the impression that the former sheriff guys uh, and the former Heart guys put together a band that recorded an album, but we didn't record an album together. The former sheriff guys recorded the album, and then we were supposed to make it appear that we had done that with them. And I absolutely protested, and it was really an unpleasant experience for me because it was based on dishonesty. So I don't really want to talk about
No,
Alias.
God, sorry about that.
That's
Just
okay. Oh no, you didn't know.
with
Yeah,
in the 80s, you had the Roger Fisher band. Did you also have you got recordings of that have never been released?
absolutely. There's some great stuff there. Yeah. Yeah, there's one song called British Blood that is an homage to British musicianship. It's a cool song, and yeah, British blood. Here's a toast to British blood. Yeah.
God, well, it'll be great when you get through your. I think this period actually, I've quite enjoyed this kind of parts of this decade. I mean, it's a bit tricky at times, but there's been a lot of good archiving. Let's put the positive into this decade. So a lot of people have been writing their memoirs, and people have been finding their old, sort of old recordings and demos. And there's various record labels in the UK, like Cherry Red Records, who are very good at getting people's archives and putting out a 5 CD box set with nice notes and nice photographs.
You
So
you should have them call me.
you should definitely, yes. Well, they always seem to be very keen on these things, and there's always
Oh,
some.
I
Oh, you're frozen.
is really good. I've
What's
got
that? Oh, sorry,
really
you just froze there.
oh my stuff. I listen to it and I think this is really, really good. This is good stuff. This should be heard. People need to hear this stuff.
Well, it's it
Yeah.
is it's a real interesting curiosity, and as you probably sort of realise when people put out like Yes, bring out the extended album of Tales of Topographic Oceans, which was already a double album, and suddenly there's like 8 sides of it, and you think, God, that's a lot of demos you've included in that. But for the fan, I think it's really nice. So, it's kind of interesting to hear what people have been up to,
Yeah. Okay.
and
So along that line of thought, in 1995, I had been writing and recording a lot. And I came to a point where I thought, why am I doing this? And I found that two of the main reasons were one, for money, and the other aspect was it's self oriented. So those were two things that I thought were wrong in the context of my perception that music is sacred. It can't be done purely for selfish reasons or monetary reasons. And so I prayed for guidance. And within 2 weeks, I had the uh, vision for a 4 album concept package called One Vision. And so each album cover is 1/4 of the big picture. You follow?
oh,
Yeah.
yes, I'm following.
Yeah. So you look at the big picture, and there are 4 squares that make up the big square. And then the reason for the One Vision project is that's I wanted to be contributing to something that helps the planet. And what the planet needs is one vision. Like, just pretend that we are facing a existential threat, which we are. It's climate change. It's uh, the greed and uh, intended domination by certain groups, countries, whatever. There are existential threats that we need to react to, or we're going to be in really hot water. Also, uh, we could see ourselves being approached by maybe a swarm of asteroids to which we would have no uh, viable response, and we would have to do something. Anyway, these are real threats to our existence. And so I wanted everything that I put out from that moment of recognizing the One Vision project and getting that inspiration to be toward somehow in between the lines, in between the notes, uplifting people, uh, directing them into a spiritual awareness. Because when we become aware of our spirit, all of a sudden everything changes, and you are no longer a selfish, angry person anymore. You are a very compassionate, generous, and uh, giving person of your own bliss, because spiritual awareness is exactly that. It's
Yes.
yeah. So the One Vision Project, we need one vision. And who are we? We are the human tribe. There's one tribe here, you know, and you can put different colors on different parts of the tribe, but it's one tribe. The human tribe needs one vision. So that's the name of our band, uh, the Fisher Brothers and the Human Tribe.
Right. My God, it sounds like the Jimi Hendrix and the Band of Gypsies, but probably slightly different concept. But nice. But all the same, yes, I think with this is what we need at the moment in our lives. Some spiritual healing would be a nice thing, and kindness, just kind thoughts and
Yeah.
karma. I think karma, is so important in life, and when you sort of if you feel positive and creative and kind, you sleep better, you feel better, you just don't feel so grubby.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
when you have stress or anger that you're a grudge or something that you're holding, that is a dis-ease inside you, and it will manifest itself for sure. And so it's really dangerous to hold on to that garbage.
yes, it's nothing like being a cathartic scream or just sort of being kind. And also sometimes just walking on the earth and thinking, what a miracle. I do remember one thing Tony Robbins said. He said, if you change your expectations for appreciation, your life will feel like a miracle. And I went, God, that's such a nice idea. Because even if you're having a bit of a tricky day, you just think, well, there's all these other things that are okay, like whether it's turning on the tap for water, whether it's electricity, the computer, the internet. I know it's like, oh God, it's all a bit slow today, but you think the technology is still quite amazing what we do and take for granted. And if you sometimes reset your brain and just think, just appreciate things today, just be kind, to smile at the next person that walks by, smile at everybody who walks by, and you might meet them with another smile, and that'll be fine. They might ignore you, but that's fine. You've been open, and I think that makes one feel so much better. And you think, well, at least I'm trying to make the world a better place in a very small and subtle way. So that's my theory.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you. So
'Cause
then, along those lines, the music that I've created since that epiphany in 1995, that's a bunch more good music. And now, so in 2020, when COVID hit, uh, I played guitar way less. And then I came down with this disease called polymyalgia rheumatica, which was everything hurts all the time. I couldn't lift my phone with one hand. I had to use two hands to lift my phone. And that lasted a year and a half. But then it went away. And then I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And that has gone away now over the years. And there's just a little bit left in my hands. But during this multi-year period, I hardly played guitar at all, and was really wondering if I should just quit music because my passion for it was just not the same anymore. And
mm,
so then, just at the last half of last year, when I got through those diseases, now all of a sudden my joy for and my passion for music comes roaring back like when I was 18. And oh my gosh, just I'm just drinking drinking up music and really hearing it differently than I've ever heard it before, and so cranked to get in the studio and revisit the old stuff and work on some new stuff. So I'm building a studio in my home. It takes forever because I got to work around other people's schedules,
yes.
um, but it's going to be a great studio. And I got some Genelec monitors. You people who know Genelec, oh my God, best near field monitors I've ever had. So those are pure joy. And then I just got some Stephen Slate headphones that are state of the art uh, headphones. So that's really great. And then on another note, we have started a foundation because part of the uh, recipe for a happy life is doing things for others.
Yes.
And so so I just read the book, The Seven Spiritual Secrets of Success by Deepak Chopra.
Oh yes, that was familiar. Yes, I remember.
Such a great book. And so he says, find out what you love to do the most, and then do that in the service of others. If you can do those two things, combine those things, then you're just going to be a happy camper, and uh, whatever you need will come to you. So that coincided with my having just created a foundation called the Soul Garden Foundation. And my buddy Derek and I are auditioning people to become part of this, where we find talented people, usually younger and possibly physically challenged somehow, and we give them mentorship in singing, playing guitar, playing piano, keyboards, writing, live performance. We just help them become as good as they can be in these different areas. And then we show them how to record, because you can, on a not very large budget, you can record high quality stuff. So we teach them how to record, and we help them write, and then we take their work, record it, and then we teach them some photography and show them how to storyboard and make their own music videos. And then we finish a music video, and then we have a promo arm where we'll promote their work. So we'll give them everything they need and the knowledge of how to do it, and give it a shot and just see what we can do. And it's all on our dime because of the donations made to the Soul Garden Foundation. And so it's a beautiful thing. And if you wanted to know more about that, you could go to soulgardenmusic.org.
Ah, right.
Yeah. And that website is still under construction because this is brand new.
Yes.
But it's going to be so good. And so when I found this property that we built our house on, the vision was always thinking of both my family, but other people, artists as well, who come here. I want them to go into our garden and see our koi pond and be absolutely uplifted and inspired, so that when they go into our studio, they carry those good vibes with them and helps them produce something great. And so shortly after I had the epiphany that we should have
You're still there. Sorry, you just went blank there. You just had the epiphany that, God, I was gripped there, by the way.
So anyway, shortly after I had that epiphany of having the Soul Garden Foundation, I was contacted by Nancy Wilson of Heart, and she said she had written a song to, it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was a tribute to my brother, Mike, the Magic Man of Heart.
Right.
Because he died in August 18th, he died. And so she sent me this song that she'd written. Oh my God, I listened to this thing, and it's otherworldly and so unusual. And it just took my breath away. And I was so pleased that she wrote something so profound. And she said she left some room on there where I could put a guitar solo. So I recorded a guitar solo and sent it back to her, and she loved it. And it's intended to be on the next Heart album, which she and Anne will be working on in the spring. So that's really excited to the prospect of the trifecta of Anne and Nance and Raj to put out something again that they wrote together. Because we were the trifecta that wrote Barracuda and a bunch of the big songs. Yeah.
The big song. But that's interesting. So that was August last year that she wrote that song.
Yeah.
Well, it was just kind of weird because that was almost Magic Man was written 50 years almost to the month, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember what month Magic Man was written.
Well, it was written in 1975, and she wrote that in 2025. It's quite an
Okay.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quite okay, not quite the month, but it's very close, isn't it?
Yeah.
50
Yeah.
years. I mean, you think 50 years when you're young, 50 years is half a century, isn't it? But
Oh my God. I'm not sure I thought I would be alive in 50 years.
but that's so incredible to kind of complete the circle if you like.
Yes, absolutely. The fact that we're still alive and still making music and not, our brains aren't destroyed, our bodies aren't destroyed. Nance is uh, really active in yoga and resistance training. She's healthy and has pulled through just amazing challenges. And God, I went and saw them a month ago or something in Seattle, and they're both so good, and their new band is really, really good. Yeah, if you get a chance to see them live, absolutely go. They have a great show that they do.
Yes. Did it when you did your, because you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was 2013, was that the first time you got together with the band after after leaving the band, so to speak?
Yeah, it sure was,
Can
and
you
it was
how did
amazing. We when we stepped into the room, it was a practice rehearsal room in L.A. We were right next to Ozzy's rehearsal space, and anytime you're in a place where the music industry goes to record or rehearse, or uh, there's a certain vibe of bigness, and it just feels cool, especially to one who has been out of the business for so long. You go there and you just feel that vibe. But we go in there, and there's Anne, and I immediately went right up to her and said some things just to establish a little bit of a rapport and uh, a sense of uh, communication of something that matters to both of us. And she had a real nice response to that. And then Nance came in, and I did the same thing with her. And then it was all just, you know, uh, rock band jokey stuff, uh, fun stuff. And when we played the song, it was so good. It was like we had never been apart. It was like immediately there's that chemistry. You feel uh, the huge confident. I don't know if there's an adequate word for what it is, but this recognition that you are a school of fish that has a power, uh, a unique power. And the song was just great first time through. So we just rehearsed it a few times, and then we were ready to do the show. But yeah, it was really great playing with them. And there was a lot of people who were upset at the induction ceremony that Anna Ness didn't have the original band come out and play Barracuda. It was like a slap in the face, many people perceived. But another thing that it was, by choosing to play with uh, some of their dear friends, Chris Cornell and uh, the others, is
Yeah.
that it was bringing a younger generation of people who are really inspired by Heart into the fold and allowing them a moment on stage, which was a beautiful gesture. So, the people that poo-pooed it because of obvious reasons maybe weren't as inclined to recognize that it was a very nice gesture to their their really close friends.
Yes. And you have to hope that everyone comes from the right space and place in their heart of what they're doing, that there's no negative energy on that part. And also, it's kind of, you do your best in life. You can't always get everything right, and hindsight is an amazing thing. But when you're on the front line, so to speak, it's a bit different, isn't it, to being in the stands. I always remember one of my there was a headmaster who came back and gave us one of those speeches. He said, "Don't be the spectator of the game of life." And I was only about 13, but it's like, well, it is better to sometimes be on the pitch making a mistake than being the clever person in the stand shouting, and I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on people who get on stage, to get it right or do the right thing. And, it's like, no one's told you how to do it, have they? You're making it up sometimes as you go along. And you can reflect on it and hope to learn. But, I don't know about you, but some of those awful moments in life can be an amazing opportunity to learn and to grow. And then afterwards you think, well, okay, as long as I don't repeat that pattern too many times.
Well, talking about reflecting on it, I've done a lot of reflecting in the past few years. We've done days of interviews with me and my brother and some other people. But especially since Mike died, I've been looking at my life and looking for the chunks that I want to use in our dual autobiography, which I will still finish. And it will still be a dual autobiography. But it is so humbling to look back at your mistakes. Like I look at this certain thing, and I think there's no way I'm going to put that in the book. That's just way too personal. And but there are so many lessons learned, and like you say, opportunities to grow from and respond to the bullshit of your past. Those many mistakes you made, and it's writing an autobiography is a difficult thing. I think it would be for any person. I know Matthew McConaughey said that about writing his, is that he really struggled with looking at his past, just like I feel like I'm struggling. But the book that he came out with from that, Green Lights, great book. He refers to as some of those really awkward, challenging moments as, at the time they were dreadful, they were horrendous. You went through this hell of personal humiliation or whatever. But there's a green light there because, and that was the framework of his work. He kept showing the green lights of situations he had faced in life. So ended up being a really inspiring book.
Yes. And also, I think it can be when other people are going through tricky bits. When you're younger and you haven't had so many moments where you've fallen over, falling in the mud on your face, falling in the mud, face down. You can just be a bit more empathetic to other people who are having problems and issues, rather than just thinking, "Come on." You think, "Oh, actually, I've been there. Oh, yes, I've slightly done that." And you just kind of need to be strong, as in stable, but not trying to give people advice, because when you're in that moment where you're face down in the mud, you can feel a little bit like it's just embarrassing and you don't know how you're going to get up again. But you just want people who are compassionate and kind, who will just say, just just keep going. Don't.
Nowadays, if you get on Facebook, there are so many people with so much advice. You get tired of it after a while. But there are gems. There are just really so many great moments on Facebook that are really inspiring and really educational. It's really a cool thing. And then, if you've got a question about, well, why isn't this thing working in my computer right now? I got this new thing and I don't know why it's not working. You go to Chat GPT or whatever, you just tell them the problem. Oh yeah, this is what you do, and it just lays it all out, including specific things about specific products, and it just tells you how to do it. It's so great. So many people feel really threatened by AI, but I swear AI is going to save our asses.
Well, it's very useful. I know a lot of doctors now use it because they have an idea and they go, "Oh, that's interesting." They put it in AI, and it could, just bring another kind of, "Oh, right, it might be that, okay," and oh yeah, you're probably, so it's kind of potentially. I mean, you wouldn't want to rely on it, but at the same time, if you put the information in, there's a human brain which might be good, but there's AI and Chat GP can just kind of give you another sort of direction. So I think there is a use for it. So I'm trying to be optimistic, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's a lot more fun to be optimistic than to
it's
be.
it's nicer, and it's nicer to be around people who are optimistic as well.
Yeah.
But when you were looking then back, you were talking about you writing and your autobiography. When you look back at that, young person in 1975 starting their journey, what did you think of yourself back then, in looking at from being in your 70s to that young person with the guitar writing those hits with Anne and Nancy?
Well, you could be accused of fishing for some good juicy stories here.
No, I'm not. I'm just wondering if you kind of felt like, oh, because some people, you just want to give them a hug and say, it's going to be a rough ride, but you'll be all right, mate. Or, yes, so innocent, but
Well, if I could go back and talk to that guy that I was back then, I'd tell him, man, stick to your music, stick to your work, and don't be such a party animal. That would be the basic message.
yes, it's a good message. It's a good one. Yes, I know. Enjoy a few drinks, but go to bed early.
Well, so our parents loved to party. They loved people. And we would have parties all the time. And it was the most fun part of my childhood. All these people come over and they're drinking and smoking and laughing and playing cards or playing, whatever they're doing. And it was just wonderful. So that was in my genes, man. I was gonna do that same thing. And we did. Yeah, yeah, a lot of really, really wonderful moments with heart celebrating.
Yes, well, I must admit, it's lovely seeing those clips from that 70s period, just that energy and that vibe and optimism. And yes, it was beautiful. And it still is, life is still good. You just have to know where to go. And yes,
David, my
embrace.
my my battery is getting so low here. I don't think I've got much more time. So
No, no. Well, look, I just thank you for part two, by the way, because I was like, oh yeah, I'd love to. And it's been fantastic hearing about the soulgardenmusic.org foundation, because I'll definitely go and check that out. And look, it sounds fantastic what you're doing, and so beautiful and so spirited. It's what we need in the world, isn't it? As Burt Bacharach once said, yes, we need love. So there you go.
yeah,
But
yeah,
look, good luck
yeah.
with the project and everything, and good luck. And hopefully, we'll hear your music from the 80s, 90s, and various other projects and the book. So you look. But thank you.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this single that you've contributed with Nancy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So hopefully there will be more than that one song on the new Heart album. And that recognition when that comes out could be the little spark in the meadow that revives my musical career.
Yes. It'll be good. But look, have a lovely day, and thank you ever so again for this extra moment, because that's been really special. Okay,
Yeah.
take
Really
care.
enjoyed talking with you, David.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, and look after yourself. Take care.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.